right there now.
Yeah, they got restaurants. So it's completely different. There was no lodge. There
Sure.
was no restaurants. There was nothing there. But it was probably about the most worthless thing I did. I mean, I'm glad I did it, but you didn't get to see nothing because I mean this man practically ran up that mountain.
Sure.
It was just a footpath. And in one place where there was a big old flat rock, they had a rope where you could hold on to that. But I mean, I could keep up with him. I wasn't winded or nothing because I was in damn good shape back then. Because I had been swimming and running, and I was down to like 140 pounds
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and made it up there. But like I said, you didn't get to see nothing. Then didn't see no birds, or I don't remember any birds even. If we'd have probably took our time, we probably would have seen stuff. But anyhow, that was the way it was.
When I
And
when I, you said you were there in 1970, right?
71.
71. Okay. I read another article about these people that said, yeah, sure, the British came in and they convinced them to stop with the head hunting, but they brought it back during World War II against the Japanese, and that they also brought it back in the 1960s, the early 1960s, because there was some type of a civil war going on with between Malaysia and Indonesia. Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't. But I do. I did hear that they started taking heads again, and I think it was the 80s when the
Okay.
Japanese went in there and was cutting down all their forests for them big trees.
Really?
Yeah, because they would load them right off of the coast, and they were cutting these huge trees down and loading them. And the reason I know about it, I seen them, and also, but that was in the 80s. I heard about that. They took a few heads again from them people taking their trees, but I don't know whatever happened with that. But I didn't know that they were taking them because I know the British, that could have been on the Indonesian Malay border that they were doing it, and I don't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that they made them stop. It was after Second World War that was when the British made them stop.
Right.
As they told me, it was after the war. And another interesting thing, when the QSO volunteer, when he was talking to us in Kuching, he said that, see, when they landed on the moon the first time,
Yes.
he told them that America had landed on the moon. And of course, they all ran outside and they looked at me. They said, "We don't see nothing." Well, some of them had also been to Kuching and they had a movie theater there. So
Okay.
they said, that was a movie. That's all that was. There wasn't nobody on the moon. They just wanted them movies. And they had seen that single engine airplanes would fly over once in a while. So they knew they had planes, but that's about all they knew about it.
So when you
So
were there
anyway,
when you were there in 1971, it was still very rustic, backward, and traditional.
yes, yes. Except for, like I said, except for them the Ebon, they were turning westerner because they
Right.
were along the coast and people, they were wanting to wear the western clothes, do the western things and stuff like that.
Right.
And uh, anyway, darn it, God, what was I talking about? Uh, oh, it, uh, he the QSO volunteer. He told us that one day he got the map out of the world and laid it out on the floor, and he was showing them where he was in Canada, where the United States was,
Okay.
and where they were. And all of a sudden, in each longhouse, they had what they called an aristocrat, meaning he could figure out stuff. So each longhouse would appoint a guy like that. He settled disputes like whose pig it was, how much rice they got compared to somebody else, because they all grew their stuff together.
Their version of a judge.
Yes, any dispute, he was able to handle it. So he was the aristocrat of the longhouse. And so he lays this mat out, and all of a sudden this guy goes, "Ah!" he understood now why the United States went to the moon. They were right on the edge. They were closest to it. The square map,
Sure.
Square map. There was the United States there. Yeah, that made sense now.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, he had that figured out. They were beautiful people, though. And just as nice as you could be. Showed us all around, took us around, showed us everything, what they were doing. It was nice. It was really nice. And going fishing was a trip, man. That was nice.
It sounds like it. Well, I have to ask you, it's been a lot, 1971, this is 2001. So it's been 50 years since you've been there.
That's right.
Would you ever want to go back?
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, if that came about, possibility, that would be interesting. But it's the same with almost all the other places I've been to. They have changed so much, and they're so touristy and stuff that I was glad I got to do what I did when I did it. But yeah, sure. I'd like to go back to India. I want to go to South America. That's my big thing, is to get to Peru, and I don't know if I'll ever make it. My knees don't feel too good anymore.
Well, I mean, you don't have to live on $1 or on $1.50 a week. You've progressed a bit past that, and Peru is I mean, they've got a very fantastic what do you call it, gastronomical tourism place there. I mean, some of the best chefs in the world are from Peru now, and I think you can fly into Lima for from one of the big major U.S. cities. American Airlines goes down there every day.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Yeah. So,
well, very good.
I wouldn't be happy though if I just took a tour. I like to get out and walk. I like to see what I can see by just walking and doing. So I don't know if I'll make it, but I could always take a tour.
A little bit is better than none. How's that?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, very good. Well, Jerome,
I did love Borneo. That was a hell of a trip.
It sounds like it's an unbelievable trip, and like I told you, I was reading on the internet about the you can take tours and take a longboat up there, and you can stay with the people. You can do everything that you did. Of course, it's a tourist event. They've cleaned it up for you, I'm sure, because they want people to go back. I showed a lot of people on bicycles taking bike rides around there. So it's changed so much, but I'm not quite the adventurer that you are, but I would love to do something like that someday as well.
I didn't tell you that the Rajang River, it's 351 miles long. It was a long trip getting up the river. And
it's the longest river in Malaysia.
Yeah, yes it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it was all good. It was every bit of it.
Outstanding. Well, Jerome, thank you again for sharing your experiences. I've never known anybody. I would go ahead and I don't think it's a stretch to say that anybody listening to this podcast probably has never had a close and personal relationship with Borneo headhunters except for you.
There's probably a few, but not too many.
I don't think
or back then anyhow.
I don't think there's too many at all. You mentioned about living like a hippie in San Francisco. That's going to be another story for another day if you have the time.
I was called a weekend hippie.
A weekend hippie. Okay. Work during the day, hippie during the weekend.
Yeah. I had a job. They didn't like that.
But you
went against all the hippie rules.
But you also probably had money, so they kind of liked that.
Well, yeah, sure. I had money.
Let Jerome in because he can foot the bill. Very good. Well, Jerome, thanks again for your time. I appreciate it. And I'd love to have you back on the podcast again because you've got just a plethora of adventures to talk to the audience about.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jerome. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that's it. We're done. Thanks to Jerome Koenigsfeld for talking about his adventures and talking about the Headhunters of Borneo. That's it. We're done. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. Send me your email address, and I will send you a link to the podcast upon publication. That's it. We're done. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.